Rockstar Games are inarguably one of the greatest video game developers in the world, both in terms of game quality and production value, as well as critical and commercial success, having 6 games with over 10 million copies sold under their belts, and a couple of those being significantly over. In spite of all of this, somewhere along the line, they lost me. If you were to ask me why, all I could tell you is that I have no fucking idea, and that is why we're here. In this series of videos, I'll be exploring the back catalogue of some of Rockstar's biggest games, reliving childhood experiences, analysing and reviewing our way through history. Will we discover that one big flaw, or will we prove myself a twat? Either way, we will be answering the question, why did Rockstar lose me? Today, we will be talking about Released on the 22nd of October 2001, Grand Theft Auto 3 would come to change the world of games as we knew it. Every studio that has ever made an open-world action game owes it all to Rockstar and the release of GTA 3. For the time, it was truly revolutionary. The perspective, combat, driving and side activities being brand new in gaming back then. But today, something we take for granted, and in some cases, are even getting kinda sick of. So does it hold up? I mean, no, of course it doesn't. Not really. But that doesn't mean it isn't a good game. I still had a lot of fun playing through this. You can just feel its age peering through the cracks. It's 22 years old, so to expect anything less would be the move of a psychopath. One of the things I actually enjoyed the most on my playthrough was how nice and simple it is. GTA 3 is the quaintest form of an open world game you could possibly imagine by modern standards, and that was a joy. So many open world games these days just throw a cataclysmic amount of shit at the wall to see what sticks, which usually is not much. Having a small map and an extremely limited amount of side activities was a refreshing change of pace, and quite conveniently, a good metric for tracking growth through Rockstar's catalogue going forward, so that's a win for my writing ability. Sidetracking quickly, you may notice the footage I'm using is somewhat all over the place, may even repeat over the course of the video. That's because I'm completely unorganised and only decided to do this mini-series 8 hours into the game, so all of my footage is only from the last few missions of the story. My bad. Speaking of the story, I may as well start there. There isn't one. Alright, I guess there is, but it's not gonna keep you on the edge of your seat. Your playable character on this adventure is a chap named Claude. Not the most intimidating name I've ever heard, but hey. You escape during a prison transfer, immediately falling in with the Mafia, until you meet a member of the Yakuza, and the Mafia betrays you, so you kill the Mafia boss. Then you meet someone else until they want you to kill the leader of the Yakuza, pretending to be a third gang to start a gang war. Some more gang shit happens, then I think a member of the Mafia comes back for revenge, maybe? I don't actually know. I'll be totally honest, until the final mission where one lady kidnaps the other in order to get a ransom for you, I thought they were both the same person. The plot, or lack thereof, was certainly one of the weakest parts of the game. A lot of the missions were just go to place A, be told to steal something from place B, and then take it back to place A, with no real rhyme or reason. It was a lot of just stealing cars and driving back and forth. And considering this game is called Grand Theft Auto, I am baffled by how much this surprised me. Even during a lot of the combat missions, it was easier to just stay in the car and run the fucker over. Claude is not a particularly chatty man. Throughout the game, he says approximately dick all, so it is somewhat challenging to consider him an interesting or lovable character. Especially considering he looks like someone in the Playmobil universe tried to draw him on their Etch-a-Sketch. Other than that, there is quite literally nothing to say about the character. Or any of the characters for that matter. They are all completely one-dimensional and serve no purpose other than to tell you where to go. I briefly mentioned the gameplay earlier on, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Oh boy is it old. I feel the age in this game more than I feel it in my knees, and that is certainly saying something, as my knees could be used to record the audio for the front door of a haunted mansion. Combat is pretty tough, as there aren't really any mechanics to help. It's auto aim and hold the trigger and hope they die before you do. Half the time, this doesn't really cause any problems. You can just enter a combat scenario and wipe out an entire squad of goons easy. The other half, it's a total nightmare. You can die very quickly in this game and very little of it has to do with skill. It's purely memory or luck. You may luck your way through a massive combat scenario on your first try. You may also have to complete the mission with trial and error, going over it a few times to learn enemy positions, places you can stand behind as there are no cover mechanics, or things you can do to completely cheese the game. Cars can't really be used as cover, nor is it advised that you drive too deep into a large firefight, as vehicles explode so unbelievably quickly that they often become a hindrance. Some cars need to be weaker than others. That's just intelligent game design. Having a tank be the same strength as the in-game equivalent of a Fiat 500 would be utterly mental. But there also needs to be some middle ground between a tank and a tower of cards made of glass on top of a half-played Jenga tower on top of an active landmine on the head of a man on a unicycle. I'm pretty sure a funny look from a pedestrian would cause some of these cars to explode. Another element to add to the slightly tedious difficulty of combat is the outrageous aggression of the police in-game. I do realise that is somewhat the point of the game, and you may say to me that I'm missing the real-world satire of the police used in this franchise, but I say to you, stick it up your arse! It just kinda sucks balls for me. I fully see the appeal when you go out on an intentional rampage and you want to cause as much chaos as you possibly can before you die. I do that too, and it's fun. But when I'm trying to do something mid-mission and I'm constantly being railroaded and utterly wiped out by 437 police cars simply because I accidentally ran over old Gertrude on my way to the objective seems a little excessive and has been the cause of my failure on multiple occasions. And yes, I do realise I'm nitpicking at a part of the game that is absolutely the point of said game. But hey, meal deals are £4 now. Nothing makes sense. Driving isn't quite so cumbersome overall, though it still has its moments. It's pretty floaty, but you can certainly get used to it, and it can be mastered. Did I master it? Did I fuck? I kept being defeated by both the inconsiderate AI swerving directly in front of me full speed, sending me on a first-class trip for a business meeting with Beelzebub himself, as well as the batshit physics. Sometimes I felt like a driving god, ducking and weaving through traffic with very few issues, like the footage you're seeing right now. Other times, the real god of driving bent me over and laughed while this happened. Or this. The driving had its moments. It actually became slightly more boring after I started capturing for this video, as I had to turn the radio off. So it was just a lot of... And that wasn't tedious at all. The mission structure is very basic throughout the game. As mentioned earlier, a lot of them are just drive to a place, kill someone or steal something, and then drive back, with some different ones occasionally thrown into the mix, like having to destroy some coffee carts or shoot down a plane. This would feel a bit better if they were laid out in a way that made sense for the overall campaign, instead of for each individual character you collected missions from. Each character has a series of missions that will ramp up with difficulty and excitement, if you will. And you may be thinking, isn't that a good thing? Yes, but when you move on to a new mission giver, the tension and build-up from the previous mission has just gone, creating this all over the place pacing that makes it hard to hold engagement. I also have to come out and say that I just straight up and unabashedly fucking loathe timed missions, and they are here in abundance, 99% of which don't have any real reason to be timed, other than a good old-fashioned fuck you, that's why. A couple of them make the effort to force in some story reason why you are on the clock, but they clearly got bored for the rest. Side activities are pretty fun, although not overly varied. Ambulance missions have you driving from place to place, picking up patients and driving them back to the nearest hospital. With each increasing level, you have to collect more patients at a time, and a successful drop-off to the hospital would give you more time. Taxi missions were remarkably similar, except instead of dropping them off at the nearest hospital, you would just take them to wherever the fuck they wanted to go. Fire engine missions would have you driving from location to location, putting out various fires, and police missions would have you hunt down and kill criminals. These are all pretty similar, driving around from place to place while timed, earning more time on the clock as you complete objectives. Very simple stuff, but once you get the knack of it, they can be pretty entertaining. There is an odd inconsistency with them in that some of them will mark the route on your minimap, telling you exactly how to get to each of these objectives, and others would just have a vague waypoint, forcing you to work out the route by yourself. This is an issue unique to me, but I am terrible at learning maps in video games. I can't do it, and I don't know why. I can just never learn my way around in an open world game. It's always driven me insane, and it's exactly why the just explore games like Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild can go fuck themselves. Respectfully. Rampages I didn't really dive into. I think I did one, but I think you can guess what they are. Kill a number of gang members within a time limit. Given my aforementioned issues with the combat system, these ones didn't really tickle my pickle, so I let them be. And finally, there is a pill that turns everything into slow motion. I have absolutely no idea why it's there or what it is supposed to be useful, but it is certainly there. Right now, we are getting close to the end of my examination and analysis of Grand Theft Auto 3, but there are just a couple more things that I wanted to mention before we say goodbye. I would like to submit a formal request for the bridge between the second and third islands to eat shit and die. I spend half my goddamn time waiting for that bridge to come back down because it's raised for no reason, and I just stop it, sir. Finally, the AI is dumb. There is no politer way to put it. The AI is just unfathomably stupid. The pedestrians dive in front of you, or traffic swerves in front of your car with sirens. Even this footage right now. Look at this car try to chase me and laugh at its failure. I positioned this series as a nostalgic trip through the past to see what changed with Rockstar's games for me to lose interest. But this is actually my very first time playing GTA 3. There are a few other games coming up that I have never actually played before, but for the most part I have, and I will be able to talk about my specific memories of playing them and what they meant to me at the time. This time it's just more of a straight up review, 22 years late. Nothing new there though, just ask Chris and Rich. I'm always late.